Hello, my name is Olive and I'm from the Western Trust Recovery College. Welcome to the first of our new Creating Wellness in the Autumn videos. We've put together a number of short videos as a wee guide really to help you think about being a wee bit more creative at home, maybe when you're at home at the minute. Being creative, whether that's painting, baking, photography, gardening, writing poetry, whatever the activity is, being creative is really, really good for your mental health, particularly if you're experiencing anxiety or stress. Because actually when you're being creative, you're encouraging your mind to focus on the activity that you're doing, so you're taken away from the maybe unhelpful thinking that you're doing or the worrying thoughts. And also it's really, really good for your self-esteem as well, because when you've spent time making something or working on a project and you have an end product for it, sometimes you can't actually believe that you've made that or produced that, and there's a real sense of achievement and self-accomplishment with that. So it's a really good boost for your self-esteem. And quite often along the way you will discover maybe that you've quite a hidden talent or a certain skill that you maybe weren't aware of before. So that in itself also gives you a wee bit more confidence and, you know, really to start to feel better about yourself and feel good about yourself. Let's have a go. It's a straightforward wee recipe. We're going to put the recipe and the guidance up at the end of the video, so you'll be able to have that. You don't need any fancy equipment really. Probably the fanciest equipment you need is really going to be a grater, but aside from that you should have all the stuff nearabouts in your own kitchen cupboards. So to get started, first of all we need to turn on our oven, and our oven is on at 160 degrees fan oven, which is about 180 degrees regular oven, and a gas mark 4, I think gas mark 4. But that'll be in the recipe at the end, so you don't need to take all this down. So I'll make a start. First of all, you prepare your loaf tin. This wee loaf tin has seen many a day. It's very battered looking, but it's a well-used loaf tin. It's one from my own kitchen. And you need to prepare your loaf tin, which is just lining it with a wee bit of greaseproof paper. Do all this prep first and then you're ready to go. So I just take a wee bit of butter on a scrap of butter paper and you just rub it round, getting it into the corners. Keeping it well oiled with butter. That's well oiled, and then a bit of greaseproof paper. And again, I use this wee handy size because it just works for loaf tins, but you don't actually need to, what I find, you don't need to do the whole way around it. You can if you want, but I think as long as you cover the bottom and the sides, you don't need to really do the end bits, and that's good to go. So that's basically what it looks like, greasing your thing. Just pop that over there. That's the tin ready. Leave that to one side. Right, okay, so to get started you need a bowl, a fairly good sized bowl, and you're going to put in 250 grams of self-raising flour. Now it's self-raising, not plain. It needs to be self-raising because that gives it a wee bit of a rise. And into that we're going to add 170 grams of butter. Now I have cut it up a wee bit there just to make it a bit easier. You can use margarine. Butter is a wee bit more pricey, I know, but I just think it's just a lovely flavour in the cake. But if you prefer to use margarine, it'll work with margarine as well. And what I'm doing here now is just cutting it up a wee bit because we want to get it a wee bit finer. So just a knife, and cut through the butter. And if your butter has been sitting out of the fridge a wee minute, it's a wee bit softer and easier to work with. You're going to rub the butter into the flour with your fingertips, and you need to really use the fingertips, not the whole of your hands, because this part of your hand is the warmest part, and it makes it a wee bit more sticky, and so you're really trying to just do it with your fingertips, plus you don't get too messy. So rubbing it in between the butter and squeezing it in through the flour, and you keep doing that until it comes to a fine breadcrumb. So if you keep doing that, you will find that it probably takes about, you could be at that maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes or whatever. You know, don't panic if you think it's not happening, it's not coming together. It will. Just keep working at it. And you know what? It's a great time to be a wee bit mindful as well. When we're doing it, we can focus on the here and now, what we're doing. So we're actually, the feel of the flour and the butter moving through your hands, and just concentrate on what you're doing just. So I think we're nearly there. Okay, so that's what it looks like then when you've got your butter and rubbed into your flour. Just like breadcrumbs really. And you might be an odd wee bigger lump on that, but don't panic about that, because that'll just bake out in the oven. So it's like that. So to that there now we need to add our sugar, and this is 150 grams of soft brown sugar. I use the soft brown sugar, it just gives a wee bit more of a caramel feel to it. But you can use caster sugar if you haven't got the brown sugar, but I think it just flavours it a wee bit better. So we just add our sugar in. Again, you'll be measuring all this out. I have just measured it out in bowls for handiness here today, and mix that all up. Again, you can use your hands or a spoon, whatever. And at this point now, that's what it looks like now with the mixing it up. And at this point now, we want to take out a good spoonful of this, and I just use a serving spoon. Take out, so you've got, that's your sugar, butter and flour. You just take a spoonful of that mixture out, because that's going to go, I'll just take probably enough. That's going to go on the top of your cake as a wee dusting afterwards. And to that there, you're going to add half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and that really brings a lovely smell into your kitchen when a wee bit of cinnamon's cooking. So again, half a teaspoon, tap it out gently, and that's roughly about half a teaspoonful. So you just toss that into that small part of the mixture and mix that through and set that aside, because we're going to use that at the end of the cake. Okay, so we'll just set that bowl over to the side, and we are going to grate. So you need 1 apple, and we're going to grate it. It's sort of a smallish apple. It doesn't need to be just an ordinary eating apple. I just take the pips out of it like that now. And then you're going to grate it. Now I grate it on the sort of slightly bigger edge. I mean, it doesn't matter, you can use a smaller one if you prefer, and you don't even need to take the skin off, because you're grating everything, and just into pieces like that. And do be careful, because you can grate a nail or two at this stage as well. So just be careful when you're getting down into the grating part. Any big lumps of skin I'll leave off. That's it. Just take out anything that's left there. So that's our grated apple, and as well as that, I'll just move it over to the side there. We're going to grate the rind of an orange. This gives it a lovely orange flavour as well, and you just really want the very top of the orange. You don't want to go down into the white part, so you're really just scoping it over the top there. I'll just set that over there. Okay, so that's our orange, and just take that wee bit off the back of the thing as well. That's your zest. Now we are going to crack. We need 2 eggs, 2 large eggs, and it's a case of just breaking them into a bowl. So once you've broken your eggs into the bowl, then you just give them a wee mix up with your fork. Beat them up like that there. Light whisk. And then we're going to add our apple and orange to that. So your grated apple and your orange rind goes into that. Just give that wee mix up. And the smells are just lovely at the minute. I'm getting loads of the lovely orange smell, so really nice. So now you're going back and you're taking your bowl of flour and sugar and thing that you've set aside, and you're going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. And again, this just helps your cake rise. So about a teaspoonful of baking powder, that much there, and that goes in. And you just give it a wee mix up. And then to that mixture now we're going to add our egg mix, our egg and apple mix. And just pop it in. And you might think, oh my goodness, this looks awful, but it tastes delicious. So and just take a big spoon, and you don't need to overbeat this or anything, you're just trying to mix it all in together. And at the start it's probably looking like, oh my goodness, there's not going to be enough to make that a cake mix, but it does come together. So you're just going round and round and not beating it, but just mixing it all together. So that's probably okay at that. And at this point now we add our blackberries. As I didn't have the joy of going out and picking them. These are actually quite large, but you do rinse them off and all that. I got them out of the just the supermarket. But so we want to put in about 2/3, save a few just. So they just basically go in like that. And we'll keep a few back just to dot it at the top. And again, you're just folding it in. So that looks like that. Okay. And then what we do then is just pop it into the tin. So you have your tin already greased and lined. So we just pile this into our cake tin now. And the size of the cake tin is on the recipe, the size. Oh gosh, I'm flying everything around. So you just pile this into the cake tin. It doesn't keep terribly long. It'll only keep about 2 days in the fridge. But in our house, I know it might even last 1 day. We usually have it 8. So when you have your cake in like that, then we just pop the rest of the blackberries, sort of dot them around. And there we go. We're going back then to our wee mixture that we kept out. Do you remember we had a spoonful of the mixture kept out, and we added some cinnamon? So now we sprinkle that just on the top of the cake, and that gives a lovely wee crusty top with a hint of cinnamon on it. So it goes into the oven, and the I think give it, when it's in a loaf tin at this size, give it about, check it about 50 minutes or so. I just keep checking towards the end. It might take about an hour or an hour and 10 minutes, but around the hour, but do keep checking it and you'll know. And we'll show you then how to check with a skewer just when it's cooked. So we'll go and pop it in the oven.